Did you make a goal this year to take better care of yourself? But here we are, about 6 weeks into the new year. You're doing all the things that you said that you were going to do, but you don't actually feel any better. Well, if that sounds familiar, today we're going to be talking about exactly why your potentially new self care routine isn't actually working. Okay, let me know if this sounds familiar, friends. You're like, all right, this is the year. This is the year I'm going all in on self care. It is time to prioritize myself, right? And maybe you've bought all the stuff, whatever the stuff means. Maybe you bought the new blender for the smoothies or the roller for your skin or the salts for your tub, whatever all of that is, and you're doing it. You're honoring it. You're setting up your meal prep, all the things that you said, this is the year I'm going to prioritize myself. And maybe you're starting to see some different improvements, right? Maybe you're increasing your quality of sleep by 30 minutes. Maybe that blood pressure is going down, whatever it is. But when you sit and really think about it, something still feels off. You're like, I thought all this was going to make me feel better, but I'm still feeling like something's missing. Now, today, we're going to really be diving into this. And one of the topics that I teach on a lot inside of the top program is the importance of prioritizing personal time. It is so critical that you have it that it is, in fact, the third step in the weekly planning process that I teach inside of that program. All right, now, if you aren't familiar with the top program, just really quick in a nutshell, it is the number one time management system for women. You can find out all the scoop for it at thetopprogram.com. It is there for you. You can jump in and join at any time. It is literally changing the lives of thousands of women around the world. Now, today, I want to make sure that when you leave here, after you're done listening to this episode, that you really understand the difference between personal time and self-care. Because there's a good chance that what you have been labeling or thinking of as I'm focusing on myself, I'm having personal time, really falls under what I would call the self-care category, right? Knowing what personal time is actually the first step in being able to prioritize yourself. Let's go back to kind of what I was talking about here at the beginning, right? Maybe you have made the investment in, I really need to level up, taking care of myself, prioritizing myself, right? You're carving out time for a bubble bath. You've got the new skin routine, the new smoothies, the supplements, your ice bathing, whatever that looks like for you. Here is what I keep seeing happen over and over and over again. Women make the investment in both the products and the actual time to be doing this. And ultimately, what ends up happening is all of these things that we're being marketed as, hey, this is how you prioritize you, get yourself back, right? Feel more like you again. All of these things that were being marketed ultimately end up as yet another item on our to-do list. So that maybe it's the end of an exhausting day. You just want to climb into bed and you skip your new 10-step skincare routine. Now what happens is you feel like you have yet failed at something else, right? It's very subtle, but it's there. And friends, it's there for a reason. Think about it. The companies that are marketing products that they are selling to us that is promising better wellness, and ultimately what they are trying to bridge the gap of is saying, hey, this counts as time for you. This counts as prioritizing you and your well-being. They need to make money from you. They don't make any money if they're sitting back there going, hey, go for a walk for 10 minutes, right? Get outside and get some fresh air. They don't make any money off of that. They make money off of selling you products, routines, and multi-step systems that you need to invest in and continue to reinvest in. And what this translates to, again, is one more thing on your list of things to do, which isn't really making you feel better rested. It just makes you feel like a complete failure when you can't keep up with all of those things. And then subtly it starts to become, "Oh, I don't have time for this," right? So here is what I really want you to understand. Companies out there in the wellness industry, and again, I'm generalizing, I'm sure not all companies do this, but for the most part, they are trying to make us believe that caring for our physical bodies in the form of nutrition, supplements, skincare, whatever the new thing is that we're supposed to be investing in, they are trying to make us believe that caring for our physical selves ultimately translates into caring for our souls. And when I say soul, I'm talking about what is it that makes you feel complete? What brings you joy? What makes you feel rested? What makes you feel like yourself? And most of the time, friends, it's not a product that we need to buy. It's not a new routine. It's not a checklist. It's not the list of all the things that the quote self care or wellness industry is trying to market to us. They are marketing things to us to help us take care of our bodies, but not our souls, not our what defines me as being me, what makes me feel most like myself. So this is why when I am teaching weekly planning and I believe me, I'm still a work in progress on this. And as I'm supporting other women to actually learn how to prioritize time for themselves, I call this category of time personal time, all right? Not self-care time, personal time. And the sad truth is, and I myself found myself here years ago, most women today, especially if you are in a season of life where I call it you are like in the trenches, right? You are potentially working full time, working to advance your career. Maybe you are in the trenches with young kids at home. Maybe you're juggling both, right? You are in that season of life where you feel like almost every single minute of your day is going to serve a role that you play or you are in service to someone else. And if you are in that season of life, unfortunately, if you were to take the time to sit down and think about, okay, well, what would I do for personal time? Often, more times than not, when I ask someone that, I'll be like, hey, what do you do that's just for you? What do you do for fun? What do you do that makes you feel like the 18, 20-year-old version of you? Usually I'm answered with kind of a blank stare, with someone kind of going, I I don't know. And then when I say, "Hey, what would you like to do?" Oftentimes again, it's, "I don't know." Because it's been so long that we've thought about it and we've been marketed to for years now that taking care of yourself just means your physical body in the form of wellness and quote self-care. And I'm here to tell you, well, believe me, I am a fan of a bubble bath. I love a good bubble bath. A bubble bath is self-care, right? I'm resting, I'm soaking my muscles. It's nice, it's comforting, it's all of that. That does not fill me up, right? That is not curing my soul. It is not making me feel like me. It's taking care physically of both hygiene and something that is restful and relaxing to help me sleep a little bit. But we are being sold a lie that that is personal time. And it is not. Now, if you have a toddler and you can actually take a bubble bath by yourself, it might actually feel like personal time. I get that. I lived that for a very long time. So I want to share with you something that I would encourage everyone to do today to help them kind of reconnect back with what would personal time look like for me. All right. And it is a process I had to go through myself. It was about 13-ish years ago when I found myself up against the wall and someone asked me, hey, like, what do you do for fun? What do you do for you? And I realized I didn't have an answer. So if you don't have an answer right now, unfortunately, you are in good company. And when I say unfortunately, it means it makes me sad that so many of us land here. But the good news is we can do something about it. So here's what I did. Here's what I would encourage you to do. I grabbed just a blank piece of paper and a pen, and I just started thinking back to Megan in her 20s, right? Megan before career really got aggressively going, before family, before kids, before all that, when weekends were mine, evenings were mine. I was like, what did I do for fun? What did I do with all that free time when I had it? And I started remembering all the things that I used to do. I did a lot of hiking. I did a lot of dining out, time with my sisters. I was a voracious reader of all things just juicy, good, especially spy novels. I took a lot of various cooking classes. I did a ton of baking. I actually used to make wedding cakes on the side for people. I loved that. I spent copious amounts of time doing all sorts of crafting. I had more hobbies than I could keep up with. And I went back and I made the list of all of those things. And then I put the lens of today. What is the reality of my life today? And went back and revisited that list and said, do any of these things here sound like something I would like to bring back into my life? Just because it used to be fun for you doesn't mean it still is, right? For example, spending a weekend in the kitchen baking does not at all sound enjoyable to me at this season of life, but it's something I used to love to do in my 20s. I think years of what's for dinner like killed the joy in that for me. So just because it was a previous hobby doesn't mean that it still needs to be a current one. And what I want you to do is think through as you're looking through there, what on there still brings a little spark of, God, that'd be great. And look for one that is a really easy win. So, for example, when I went through this exercise, I'd forgotten how much I used to just read all sorts of just wonderful fiction novels. And I took a minute and I realized at that stage of life, I couldn't remember the last time I read a book just for me. Every book on my nightstand in my office was in service of a role I played, right? I had the parenting books, I had the productivity books, I had the books for the skill that I was learning at work, right? All of them were to better myself in a role that I was playing. So I thought, okay, well, what if instead I just picked up a book for 10 minutes before I went to bed at night, just for me, right? This is where I think, again, the the marketing space also paints a real bad picture for women here. What they are marketing oftentimes is that getting that time just for you is something massive. It's the 4-day weekend trip away to Sedona, right? It's an entire 3-day girls' trip weekend. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing any of things. 100% yes. But those things come with huge gaps of time in between. What we need to find is what can we start carving into our life on a daily basis in small pockets of time just for us. Now, you are likely thinking, Megan, I don't have time, right? How am I supposed to even find 15 minutes to read a book for me? Well, here's where I want you to start looking first, okay? Think through the reality of your day right now. How many times are you presented with a little window of time? Maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's 15 minutes between activities or transitions. And then ask yourself, how do you typically spend that time? When I really dig in with a lot of women, we start to uncover a lot of patterns. Oh, well, if I'm in carpool line for 10 minutes, I'm answering emails, or I'm hopping on Slack and responding to messages, or I'm returning a phone call that I needed to do for work or for personal. Or if they're having to kill 30 minutes of time between a meeting, or maybe you're sitting in your car while your child is at an activity, we're thinking about how do I make this quote productive, right? Make every minute count. That's what we're told to do. Well, what if instead you started in one of those pockets of time where maybe you're at the carpool line for 10 minutes? You had something with you that was just for enjoyment, that was something that brought a smile to your face, made you have more joy, made you feel more like yourself. Maybe it is picking up that book. I love doing logic puzzles. I keep a logic puzzle book in my car. Sometimes I open that up and do a couple puzzles. Maybe you like to do crafting, right? And you bring your knitting needles with you and you get a couple rows in of the latest project. This doesn't have to require a complete overhaul on your life And it shouldn't be in the form only of long 3-day weekends with 9 months in between. Guys, I'm telling you all this because I did that. Years ago, I had this one trip per year, and I would literally, as that trip was approaching, I would be running on so many fumes because I could not come up with a time where I had just prioritized my needs, not physical needs, but what my soul needed. It would be so starved that by the time that trip came the following year, I would usually cry for like the first half an hour of driving there, just releasing all of that. Whereas now, my life is still just as full. I have a lot of things competing for my time, but I have little pockets. I would like to say every day, but it's at least every other day. There are some of those days where it's just one of those days. But I'm connected with books that I love. I've brought back hobbies in my life. I've started learning new things. And these aren't things that take hours of time. It's 10 minutes here. It's 25 minutes there. And when you do that, not only do you start feeling different, right? This is what brings that shift of, oh, I am feeling more like myself. But the people around you get to witness that. And two wonderful things happen there as well. Number one is you are just a happier person. I know I am a much happier person to be around because I am more filled with joy. So I know everybody in my life benefits from that. Second, subtly, my own daughter gets to see this. She gets to see me prioritizing me. And I want her to see that because I want her to continue doing that for her for the rest of her life as well. So here's what I want you to always be thinking about. If you are falling into you find yourself leaning towards something that you want to do, that you're like, "Oh, this is gonna make me feel better," right? This is going to reconnect me to myself. Here's a good kinda lens to look through to make sure that you're not falling into a wellness or self-care trap versus true personal time. If you land on something that you want to do, ask yourself, "All right, how am I gonna feel if it doesn't happen on a given day?" And if you're like, "Oh, that's gonna make me feel stressed or like I failed," that's not personal time, right? That's a good sign that that is more of a self-care or wellness checkbox. Back to some of the earlier examples, I know I'm being exaggerating here, but maybe you've landed on this new 10-step skincare routine you're gonna do every night, right? And you're thinking, "All right, if I miss a night, I'm gonna feel like I failed." That's not personal time. But if instead you're like, "Hey, I'm gonna start," as I did, reading for pleasure again. Okay, how would you feel if one night you were just pooped and you just went right off to sleep and didn't read? Would you feel like a failure? Probably not. That's a good sign that that's personal time, right? So that's another great little litmus test that you can use to make sure that you're really thinking about things that are there just for you, just for pleasure, just to take care of your soul and not your physical self. So I hope that this has inspired you to start thinking creatively about how you're going to bring time back in for yourself, what it might look like, and to recognize it's a huge win if you can just get some small pockets of time on a consistent basis. All right, friends, I hope you have a great week, and I'll meet you back here next week for another episode.